I'd like to share with you a somewhat different concept for a flower farm. Traditional flower farms push the grass blocks back and forth, and then either the player needs to pick up the flowers manually, or the farm needs to stop producing while the loot is being picked up. It should be possible to pick up the flowers with hopper minecarts, but this is very rarely done because of the sheer volume of items produced would make it impractical to handle them through hopper lines. This farm pushes the grass blocks too. But rather than pushing them back and forth, we use a piston feed tape. The two rows of fences right here pass under the items and allow them to fall through into this water stream here, where we can then just handle them with whatever standard loot sorting system we want. I'm not claiming this to be the optimal design of this type of farm, but rather just the bare minimum on which optimizations can be done if necessary. Let's start with some numbers. This farm eats around 11,000 bone meal per hour, and that produces somewhere between 45 and 50,000 items per hour, and 55% of those items are flour, the rest are seeds, as you probably know if you've ever built a flower farm. I'll explain why the numbers are approximate and not hard in a while. This is a 6-tick clock, 6-game tick clock. The signal first goes into this line of pistons, and with the exact same delay, so at the exact same time, these pistons down here get activated too. Then after 2 game ticks, so 1 extra repeater here, this row of pistons get activated, and this row of pistons gets activated. And that's how we move the blocks around. There have to be 2 rows of fences here. 1 is not enough. I do not understand why, but items sometimes fall through 1 row of fences, and sometimes they get pushed out on the back of the machine. With 2 rows of fences, every single item gets picked up correctly and falls through into this water stream. To get the items to fall, this row of blocks needs to be here. This doesn't have to be glass, but this needs to be something that doesn't destroy grass. More on that in a second. Below here, we have a dispenser that gets activated by this row of observers. And since all the blocks below here need to be glass or something that prevents the flowers from falling down here, we just want them to fall into this channel, we need to feed that dispenser with droppers. Now the droppers need to be fed with 2 lines of hoppers because 1 is not enough because we are eating more than 9,000 bone meal per hour. Now let's talk about inefficiencies. The first inefficiency that should be pretty obvious is that some of the time, instead of grass blocks to which the flowers can spread, we have fences here. So that removes part of the bone meal efficiency of this machine. But the bigger problem is that grass blocks are on top of other grass blocks. And even though it's for a very short time, that doesn't matter because it is random when grass blocks turn into dirt. So if I, for example, turn on the machine right now, we have an entire line of dirt. And this is why the estimates for how much bone meal we use and how many items we produce are just estimates. Because if the dispenser dispenses into a dirt block, nothing will happen, the bone meal will not get used up. While running, the grass spreads just fine to the dirt blocks, but there is nothing we can do to prevent the dirt blocks from forming even while running, at least not with a relatively simple design like this. Now, one method I tried for at least making the problem smaller was to add another row of sticky pistons up here that first this piston would push the block up, then the sticky piston would grab it and pull it up, and then these pistons would push the block to the side. This reduced the number of dirt blocks produced by half, but didn't eliminate it because a piston above a grass block will destroy the grass block. Now, we could use slime or honey because they do not destroy glass blocks, as you can see here, but that would very much increase the complexity of the machine, and I don't know how these pistons could live next to slime and honey blocks without even further increasing the complexity here. Other methods to reduce the loss of grass blocks that I have only vaguely explored and haven't done real proper testing on yet is to add another layer of grass above here, because grass very much likes to spread downwards rather than upwards. This seems to increase the number of grass blocks we get after running the machine for a long time, but I haven't done proper measurements yet, so I don't want to make any promises. Also, at least according to the wiki, there needs to be a certain light level for the grass to spread, so it will probably help to light this area inside. But it's actually very hard to light up the blocks here that are glass right now, because most light sources actually destroy grass blocks. We could potentially use campfires, but that would probably destroy the items. Honestly, I haven't tried because I'm pretty sure it will just destroy the items. And also, beacons. So the whole joke about beacons being a nice lamp might actually be true in this case, because if you want to light up the inside here, especially specifically on the blocks there, beacons seems to be the only option. Now, the reason why I haven't really explored all the options for fixing the dirt issue is that it's actually not a huge deal. It's around 10% of the blocks end up being dirt, and that doesn't really affect the performance too much. At most, it will use slightly more bone meal than it should. And in the worst case, one of the blocks that is being dispensed to ends up being dirt, and that slows the farm down by slightly less than 10%. All in all, I'm actually using this in my survival world, and it works great. I will not have a guide for how to build a flower farm and especially where to build it. I will just mention it that you need to build it either in plains or a flower forest biome. But if you're building it in a flower forest biome, you should do research for which flowers spawn where. And for how to build this, if it isn't evident from this, there will be a world download in the description. If you have any questions or ideas for how to improve this, let me know in the comments or show up on the Discord that will also be linked in the description. But until then, thanks for watching and have a good flowering.